ready?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, neighbors. I'm back today with candidate William Abreu.
Hello.
Thank you for your time. And he will be our last new candidate interview for the upcoming elections. So, William, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself, your candidacy, and we'll get to the Q&A afterwards.
Okay, yes, so I'm born and raised in Florida. Pretty much my purpose of running is I'm a newly resident, about 4 years now, of the community. And due to that reason was I had a daughter and I wanted to make sure I lived and lived in a community I felt comfortable in and was nice. My wife actually found this community, and from the moment we saw our first home here, that's the place we decided to stay. And I'm here for the long haul. My daughter's 4 years old. We've been here, practically since she turned a year. We came out here. She's about to be 4 years now. My long history of my work environment has always showed that I've been a community man. Like the community I was raised in, I went back into that community to work with the public in parks, in recreation and educational for tutoring for kids in the same community that I was raised in. Because it helped me out throughout my growth to get to, my livelihood now. Now that I'm here, once again, like I said, my resume shows that I've always been a part of the communities I've been in. My life is my daughter, and this is her community. So I want to do my best to assist in the future growth of this community, my neighbors and whatsoever, to make sure that the environment is as best as I can see fit for my family. I'm here for the long haul. So that's my purpose for, running for commissioner.
Tell us a little bit about what you do for a living.
Okay, so currently at the moment I have a martial arts program. That is my main, source of income, you can say, where I run programming for after school, for all type of skill levels. I do martial arts in terms of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, and boxing, but I also do digital content, for various organizations, like movies, behind scenes. My latest venture is, as soon as the pandemic started, there was a big case of where schools got closed, parks got closed. So obviously my child was stuck at home, but she had a home to be in. I also helped the Miami-Dade foster care system, where a lot of those children are just in those designated, foster care areas. They're like almost like a campus, and none of these kids they didn't have school to go to, so they didn't have an outlet there. And then they had no parks to go to, so there wasn't an outlet there. Right. So I was brought in to assist them in not only athletic activities to help drain their energy, but also in tutoring to keep them and get them prepared for when school restarted. So it was supposed to only be during 2 or 3 months. They like my services, and now it seems like I'm going to be a permanent fit there for them. So now, I bounce around in these various projects and jobs, and it's a pleasure. My whole life, since the moment I got out of college, I decided to go back to work for the public service in whatever area that I could, going from assisting, the development areas, the public works, to then working in the parks and recs for minors and kids, to then senior programming, to, I went to school for sports medicine initially. I assisted in paraplegic training, helping get sensory back. So I've always been a man of assisting my neighbor.
Wonderful. And welcome to the park.
Thank you, thank you.
You ready for some questions?
Let's go.
All right, let's go. Let's start first with reading from the Charter, and this is in our Citizens' Bill of Rights.
Okay.
And it states that this government has been created to protect the governed, not the governing. Please explain to us your interpretation of what this means to you.
So there's 4 commissioners, one being becoming a mayor, from what I'm understanding, due to the votes of the other 3. All of us are here to be a collective voice for the community. So at the end of the day, it's whatever idea I may have, I will take my sheer, ability to assess it and see the safety of it in terms of it being done and getting done in a safely manner, to not drain our revenue, because that is the money that we need to help and assist residents, whatever other issues can come as an emergency factor, like the last hurricane.
Okay.
But also to make sure that then when I present it to them, I present it to them with a solid idea and not just an emotion idea for me to convince them with my voice by just speaking louder, but actually a solid, backed up factual idea to help better the community in their say. So in that whole process, at the end of the day, I'm here to speak for them, but also with the collective of the commissioners altogether, not as one individual. At the end of the day, it's they come first and then us.
Okay, thank you. What do you see as the biggest challenges facing Biscayne Park, and how would you address them?
Okay. So I feel that it's too emotional at the moment, and it's not an emotional in terms of like I want the community to be better, or I'm emotional because a tree has fallen, knocked down a power line, and a family does not have power. It's emotional to where people seem to have personal history amongst themselves, and this is a problem because, like, within the community, that's one thing, but the moment you get into the seat of a commissioner or political, that has to go out the window. Just like you're bipartisan in terms of politics, you have to be the same things in terms of the emotional factor. And that to me is the biggest problem, because you can't get things done. Like majority of the problems that have been around since I first moved into the community are still similar problems that are going on now. And I can only assume that the progress has not moved forward because of the emotional connection they have against one another.
Okay. The village manager is responsible with the day-to-day operations of the village. He or she runs the village and manages all employees. In your opinion, what is the functional definition of providing oversight? And if not satisfied with the manager's results, how would you proceed?
Okay, so my opinion, this is going to seem absurd to many, is we're such a small community right now, because it goes back to the previous question. Right now, because I feel there's such an emotional factor and a negative emotional factor towards one another in the office and out of office. I see that the best fit would be, if possibly, and just throwing this idea out there, where a governing office or body that is much bigger and has worked on a bigger level with managers, I'm just using for an example, North Miami, would be the supervising top of the final decision and making sure all protocol was followed by that manager. Why? Because from my history of what I've read up and seen on many accounts is that emotional, like I said, discourse amongst each other has carried over to the manager. Right. And has, almost become a form of almost like harassment, where like it's just a constant bother on things that they are just not brought to the community to be an issue. Like people tend to kind of overstep their boundaries in terms of a commissioner or just any other political power onto the manager. So to me, the best thing that we can do is come up with a checklist of a general idea of when we would like a project done, or a goal to be finished. And this will be given to the manager. And then we can keep a good evaluation on the manager in terms of his work dependent on that.
Right.
And then from there, at the end of the day, to make sure that none of the work was either manipulated by any other political power, it would be that final top office, like a human resources type idea, that would then oversee to make sure that the protocols were followed correctly by that manager to then, be assisted by the commissioner. So I would do my best to separate.
If I may.
Yes.
Our charter currently would not facilitate, an outside body overseeing an in-house manager without change. Mm-hmm. However, what do you feel, and this isn't a question, but just to elaborate a little bit further, what would you feel about proper and additional self-governing amongst the commission itself? So if you do have parties that are out of their lane, or whatever term that you use, mm-hmm. The commission itself could deal and construct and bring that party back in line.
Yes.
That is something that we could do. We haven't done effectively enough, but that's within the charter, and actually we'll get to a question next that will address a little more the authority and limits for commissioners.
Yes, I'm for it.
Does that make more sense?
Yes, I'm for it. I don't know the exact steps that it would go through in terms of like the specific idea I said. But overall, my idea is put a buffer at the end to ensure the safety, not only, you know, like the psychological safety of whoever party.
Right.
Commissioners don't feel that the manager is, you know, assisting them correctly, or he's overstepping, and vice versa. Commissioner not overstepping to the manager, you know, so it doesn't continue to get more on a personal level. And then at the end of the day, when things get signed off and paid for, then that be observed and watched. So,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Let's go into a little bit more detail. I'm going to read from section 4.02 under Commissioner Prohibitions. Neither the commission nor any of its members shall interfere with the manager's decision to appoint or remove any village administrative officer or employee. However, the commission may express its views and fully and freely discuss the appointment or removal of such officer or employee with the manager. Easy enough. Interference with administration. It is the express intent of this charter that individual commissions make any recommendations for improvement in village operations to the manager only. Of course, this would preclude the use of social media. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Individual commissioners may discuss any matter of village business with the manager, but are, again, strictly prohibited from directing or otherwise ordering the manager to take any particular action. Except for purposes of inquiries and investigations made in good faith, the commission and its members shall deal with the village officers and employees who are subordinate to the manager solely through the manager. Neither the commission nor its members shall give orders directly to any such officer or employee, either publicly or privately. And lastly, any willful violation of this section by any member of the commission shall be grounds for removal from office by an action brought by the state attorney of Miami-Dade County. Now, with this in mind, please describe the duties and responsibilities of commissioner as you see it. What qualifies you to fulfill them, and why do you want to serve as a commissioner here?
I mean, I feel like, you know, we go back to the first question, or at least when I introduced myself, I'm in for the community. And obviously I'm a resident of the community, so I feel like I have a little bit of understanding of what the majority of the community wants, but I can't make that assumption. I can make that assumption, but I can't act on that assumption. I still nonetheless have to make sure that I grab the ideas and the concerns of the collective community, and then go ahead and do my best to organize it and triage it pretty much, and with the understanding of what our budget is and of what's important to cost and, I guess, you know, better quality of life. I can't just grab everybody's concerns and then go with the easiest one that's being barked at the most and just run with that because I see that fits me best.
Right.
So that's my part, to be the final voice of the community, but of the community. Now, why do I fit into it, or I feel like I can? I've worked at the public service long enough to know how I must adapt and listen to the public when I'm working with them to get, you know, everything to work correctly. I haven't been a manager my whole life. Like, I haven't assumed my own business my whole life where I just barked orders and got everybody to run. I had to learn how to listen and focus and get people to evolve. Let it be a child, let it be a senior who couldn't move anymore, or let it be an athlete from another sport who comes into mind currently. Like, I had to get people to understand not only how to better approach what they want, but to understand that what is currently going on at the moment, there's a reason to it. And then right now may not be the timing. This is how we will address the situation later. So I've always been a team player, and I've always put my time into listening to others. So that's why I feel fit best.
Thank you. Good points. We've had situations where commissioners have been found to be meddling or overstepping, you've mentioned that, alluded to that, with their limited authority, and as such have committed charter violations. If elected, and if you witness this happening firsthand, how would you address this issue?
Okay, yes. First of all, once again, this may be something that people will get pretty upset when they hear. I don't feel that anyone in political position should be on a specific account or any type of social media where they're speaking and because they're in a commission, what do you think residents are going to assume? That they're speaking and they're the voice of the office, and that should be done for. That there should be a separate account for the public office where it's just not a specific person, just a general account speaking on the behalf of the office.
Right.
In terms of how would I take care of it coming to commission, I would do my best to try to set something in place to take care of that matter. Like, and how would you deal with it? I would simply go on there and make sure that I tell them and direct them to the right location on where to get their information. So pretty much I'd be like, please address and speak to Biscayne Park Village and message them at their own account to get further information.
Okay, very good. What will be your steepest learning curve as a representative of the people?
Repeat that one more time, please.
What will be your steepest learning curve as a representative of the people?
Okay, so my history shows I've never been in a political office. So, you know, from all the stuff that I'm hearing and all my suggestions are coming from what I've learned in regards to what's going on, I guess, in office here. I guess that's going to be my steepest learning curve because everyone tells me that's politics. And I really hope that it's not. I guess that's going to be my steepest learning. If I get into office would be to continue the route that I'm going and just break through those barriers, you know, or this is the way it is. Once again, going back to my previous history, I'm learning how to work with people, figure how to work with that to still get my purpose to the community.
Okay. When the community is split with strong views on each side, which we're prone to do, what tactics would you employ to bring a divided community and commission together?
Okay, so due to ethics, from what I'm learning, we can't come together before any type of meeting. So, you know, that's the tough part right there. But thank God for today's technology. We can all relate through email, through the clerk or the manager in regards to just getting out the general idea of when we get our next meeting hall, can we ask the questions a lot slower? Can we not be as wordy with the questions? Can we do our best to listen everybody out completely? If one person suggests an idea, let's not just wait to vote yay or nay. Let's go ahead and ask that person or each individual on the panel to please, you know, like retell us, regurgitate that idea they just heard to make sure everybody's on the same page. Because what I see when it comes down to it, someone speaks fast, someone says some words, somebody's tired, they don't want to be there anymore. They just raise their hand and says that they want it to pass through. I think, you know, that would be the best way to, like, did you truly understand? Yes, how would you see it? How would you think it worked? And at that moment, get a collective idea of how many people did completely understand what was suggested or requested, and then we can move forward.
Okay. As a commissioner, you will be asked to make decisions at the request of residents that are based on their personal choices or wants. And of course, these may not be representative of the majority of residents. Do you believe policy should reflect the majority or minority interests?
I think policy should reflect everybody. I mean, it's a policy, right? I mean, if the policy's not right, then we'll convene and then we'll talk about changing up the policy a little, if that's the case. But, you know, everything should be done on a poll. No matter how much the percentages of polls that have come in for a certain topic has been very low in the past, it's still better, and I'd rather take that than someone telling me the majority didn't approve. Then please, what is you consider the majority?
Right.
Like, I think it's just the way it is. If we don't like a policy, then let's work on changing it.
Well, we've never come remotely close to a majority on a poll,
Yeah.
and so that's why they haven't been as effective as I think you may allude to.
But I mean, we can, at least that's a better majority to understand. So if only 30% vote, 30%, for that case, that 30% can be seen as a majority, as opposed to, it's a safer way to see it as a majority as opposed to someone saying, many don't like it. Then what do you consider many? Like, I mean, if you collect 10 people, that's a number that it's easier to bank on, and I feel much more comfortable saying
Right.
most they didn't want, because the most was 10. Okay, it's a low number, as opposed to you didn't show me anything. Like,
Okay. Point taken. Let's talk about money.
yes,
In 2010, 2011, excuse me, we had a millage rate of 8.9. It is now increased to 9.7 with a 10 cap. Despite the increases in our housing prices, we haven't reduced the tax millage rate. Some residents want specific improvements, other residents want lower taxes. How would you plan to balance these two different wants?
I'm pretty confident that everybody here, at least it could be me assuming the nicest thing possible, but that we're all here for, at the end of the day, the better of the community. Let it be your vision of the better community be on a rental property, or you got the other end that's in regards to raising their family. We're here for the better of the community. So I feel pretty confident if we were to actually systematically come up with the list of the things that are being proposed and asked from the community, and then we take that into, we take our actual time to actually come out with some factual evidence in regards to how would it raise this value if the person who's suggesting it is looking to help their property. How would it help this family if the person who suggested it is looking to better the community for their family? And we make a nice list broken down to, in terms of coming down, I guess, a similar vote from like 1 to 10, right? I'm pretty confident that by us doing that, we can narrow down some stuff that would probably bundle up with some other ideas. Eventually coming out with a nice compressed list to present back to the residents for them to see not only what they proposed is on the list, but because that list we're presenting is on the plan to eventually get done.
Right.
And that should help both sides.
Okay. All right, let's move on. As a commissioner, you will make decisions that may affect the value of all of our properties. In what ways do you think we can most directly increase the collective value of our homes?
Can you repeat that again?
As a commissioner,
Yes.
you will make decisions that may directly affect the values of our properties.
Understand.
In what ways do you think we can most directly increase the collective values of our homes?
Collective value of our homes. So, as I'm one of the newer families in the community. At least, I think, I hope it's a safe assumption. And that's just gonna be the case, you know. The new move in, the old move out, you know, and it's a cycle. Like, that's how you keep the community alive. Just new families move in. It's a cycle. And if we were to be a little bit more, I guess, because I'm accustomed from where I've worked, more community, more neighborly friendly. So it seems very neighborly friendly, and it is, don't get me wrong, but it's because nobody's really outside.
Right.
I mean, I've met most of the neighbors because I walk my dog. You know, I'm a younger family, so the people I've met at the park have been the same families, but it's because it's the same type of activities. So
Right.
we're the only ones that are accustomed to it.
Right.
You know, like that park is there. It could be made into a phenomenal hub, like a phenomenal hub for seniors, teenagers, young parents, and not just during holidays like Halloween, Christmas. There can be programming throughout the year where people can meet and greet. And you know, I feel like that would work the best in terms of now you're getting a new cycle of life. Now you're getting a new interest. Now you're getting new programming that can generate more revenue. And this, you know, with that more revenue, we can then go ahead forward with the list of projects.
Okay.
And then increasing the value of everything. Everybody should be happy.
Okay, thank you. What do you think about the length and frequency of our commission meetings? If elected, what would you do differently?
Well, I'm gonna be honest, they've been short. I mean, from what I've seen in the past, I would say, yeah, it was kind of absurd. But the previous ones I've been in have been pretty short. I mean, the help selection of a manager, or at least narrowing down the resumes and applications of a manager was pretty quick. So I don't know, I think it's doing fine. We need to keep it up. I think from what I heard from someone who mentioned in the meeting it was a straight shooter meeting. Like, there was no bickering.
Now, are you referring to the board that actually you and I both served on as far as vetting the manager?
Yeah, when we narrowed it down.
I was referring to normal commission meetings.
Okay. Yeah, those are absurd.
Okay. I'm sorry if I didn't make that clear.
Yeah, those are absurd. You know, those are absurd.
In what way? Length, frequency, both? Neither?
That's how I got my previous idea in regards to, you know, it seems like people are just not on the same page because they're not understanding the question.
Okay.
Like if there was a, you know, like a method to like just get people to repeat it, give us an example, various ways to kind of just change up the vocabulary, change up the presentation.
Okay.
Not the, you know, it sounds like it'll extend it, but actually it'll cut our time off because more people on the panel will be more understanding of it. And more people and the residents who are watching or in there in person will understand because you're giving the idea, you're giving an example, and you're giving a purpose.
Okay.
Because the idea, you know, you got an idea, but you may not have a significant purpose. Like, so kind of like, almost like the questions you're asking me, what would I do? Like, exactly, why would you want this? I think that would help shorten the meetings at the end of the day.
Okay.
But, I mean, other than that, yeah, in the past it's been bad, but lately, what I've been a part, even though now you just dropped the bomb, they've been short, and it's because we're straight shooting, we went straight to the point. So.
It did well. I think that the group did get along well by and large, and we got the business done we were tasked to do, so.
And it seemed because majority of them didn't have too much of emotional like clash.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair. That's how I saw it as well.
Yeah, so that's why it worked quickly.
Okay. This next question has a couple different parts, so as you have in the past, if you need me to repeat any of it, please feel free.
Okay.
And let's talk about our legal bills. Over the past 4 years, our legal bills have dramatically increased. Some of this has been due to individual commissioners instructing the attorney to do work without first discussing it with the commission at large as a body, or in building a consensus. Also, we've had examples of spending tax dollars on personal pet projects. Remember, the commission is to act as a body, not as individuals. Now, question 1. Do you believe this should continue, or should commissioners be required to send their requests through a village manager and let him or her deal with the attorney?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly going back to where I initially said first. There needs to be a buffer, like that should be put in play as a rule. Like, if these occur, then you meet the manager. If you don't like what's going on with the manager, then we have the ethics board that you can come across. But if it doesn't cross under the ethics lines, then the manager's doing his job correctly. Stop overstepping your boundaries. Like.
Okay. Second part, what actions would you take to limit wasteful spending and to lower these increased bills?
Repeat that one more time.
What actions would you take to limit wasteful spending and to lower these increased bills?
I mean, it doesn't make no sense why the spending is occurring, to be honest. Like, my idea would be it's simple, present it to the mayor, present it to the manager, present it to the clerk, then pass it to the manager. But not just one of those where then it's like only 2 people speak and then like, okay, this is a real good idea, and you, with good language and good approach to the proper residents, you get a change. Like, no, once again, like, we're here to speak for the residents. If run a poll, show the facts that you actually got residents interested into the scenario, present it. Then from when you present it, then we as a collective get together and see should it pass. And then should we accept it? And if we do, then we present to the manager. But it's not put the pressure and annoy the manager so much that, I mean, it's sad, but that's just the way it runs. When you're in such a small office, and literally the building is the size of most of these homes, and everybody's seeing each other all day, you get intimidation, you get tiresome, you tell people, listen, you literally, like, and you don't mean to, but at some point, you're like, yes, whatever you say, sir, let's get it done.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, there just needs to be more consequences put in line in terms of punishment to the people who cross that line. Like, it seems like right now it's only talking. That should be out the window. Like, people should either lose privileges to some stuff or fined in some sort of way, or I don't know what the protocol would be, but there needs to be lines established and some consequences put in place.
Okay. Okay. And this sort of dovetails into what we were just discussing regarding possible, if we cannot come to this organically, to bring these bills down, which have doubled and tripled in some instances for some time now. what would be your opinion on limiting access to the attorney from commissioners if we could not self-govern effectively on our own? Would you be in agreement of limiting access or not?
Yes, yes. Like the access should be had limited from the beginning. Would the residents, like it's bottom line, would the residents approve if they knew those details were happening beforehand? No. If the residents knew at the moment that Joe Small, whoever it is calling the attorney on this timely hour, and the attorney is charging this per hour, why is he calling? Oh, because he wanted these trees cut in some area that didn't matter, just people didn't like the aesthetics of the building? Yeah? Okay. Then what do you think that resident's gonna say? This is absurd. Even the resident that asked for it, if they found out that, yeah, they didn't pay out of pocket $900 for it to be cut by an arborist or, you know, a landscape guy, but this guy took on what he heard from me to help himself in a political agenda get boosted, to then just be like, I'm gonna take care of it for you, to then go talk and then tell you later, I talked about it. He's like, I really doubt that any resident would be okay to know that they didn't pay for it now, they're paying for it later.
We all pay for it collectively one way or the other.
Yeah, one way or the other. Like, so it's like, like the boundaries, it just goes to the boundaries. It shouldn't, they shouldn't, like why? Like why would I need to, as a commissioner, have to, if I have to speak to the lawyer, the attorney, then chances are the person who's next to me, who's another fellow commissioner, or the manager, right, didn't explain to me properly. Or I didn't hear what I wanted to hear. That's usually the bottom line.
Yeah.
Then you go back to them and you revisit the situation. I shouldn't have access to this attorney. Like that's not, the only access I should get to attorney is the day of the meetings. When people propose things, for us to run it by them, what did he propose? Is that legally possible? This is our idea, is that legally possible? That should be the only time.
Right, okay.
Like,
Interesting points. What is our biggest strength as a community that you think we can capitalize on better?
okay, this is gonna sound like maybe it's not part of the answer, but when I moved into my home, I believe my home was built in 1952. We found pictures of like when it originally was being built. And just that, like we have them framed, and having the original blueprints, which are the blueprints in our Bruno one. There's history. Right, there's history here. You know, it's one of the oldest communities that's been building with the same idea. Like there's not much change in the homes. Like it's rare that you're gonna see homes that are like a modern 2015.
We've had a couple pop up.
Couple compared to other communities.
Right, right.
Like, you know, it's like, it's beautiful. Like, I mean, come on, it's a neighborhood that really many don't even know that are from Miami. I didn't know this place existed. I've heard of El Portal, but I didn't know this place existed. And just that exclusivity itself, like it's good. Like, you know, we have history here. We have a great community, we do. Like, you know, like, I'm simple. You can be mean, you can be nice, or you can be quiet. We have nice and we have quiet. Like, you know, I just, you know, that's just my thought. As like, once again, I'm a picky person. I chose to live here with my daughter. I believe it's an amazing community. That's the way I feel about it. I just think that if this continues in terms of this whole craziness, you know, it's just gonna make more divide. You know, it's one of those just got to get together. And if there's plans, there's regulations that people must follow, then everybody's on the same page.
Right.
Simple.
Okay, great. And that wraps up the questions. Any closing comments or statements that you'd like to make for the voters?
Well, yes. Sorry for all the jabbering, and if I ran around answers. I'm not an interview guy. I'm more of a get the job done guy. I hope that at least assists you guys in making a good decision to come and vote for me, because that's all I'm about. Like, tell me what's needed. I'll figure out what I can do. If I can do something, then I'll make sure I reach out to the other hand. I've always worked well with others. Have I had discourse with others? Of course. But that does not need to affect any job. At the end of the day, especially when and it's easy to do your job and do your job unemotionally. Just do your job for the residents when it's in a position of political reason, because that is your job title. Like it's easier, you know. Like if You know, it's a lot harder at my gym because why? Obviously, like when I have a good athlete, you know, you're like, I want to see them a little more. Or I have a good student in the foster care system, you're like, man, you know, it's hard to come through. So it's, you know, like, you know, you pat a little more on the back than another. It's because it's like the job titles make them better and you get happy with the results that you create. But in this situation, my job entitles me talking for the community. Like, and it's easy because it's easier to put my emotion to the side because I'm here for the community. That's the end of the day. So if there's an emotional hint in my voice, I want to get it done is because my community is stressing it to me and I want it to get done. Bottom line, it's simple. And I have the experience. I don't know who else has dedicated as much of themselves to public service as I have. I don't know. I just don't know the history behind it. But that's what really got me to go because Art Gonzalez several months ago posted in the app, the Neighbors app, speaking in regards to a commissioner is a public service worker. He's there for the public. And and if they are not prepared and ready to be a public, that their life itself is to be is to work for the public service, then they're not the right commissioner. My history shows I've only worked with the public. I've only been here to assist people as best as I can. So that is my goal. Once again, I'm here for the long haul. My daughter is about to turn 5. I'm not going anywhere. I have no rental property nowhere else. I'm not running anywhere. It's just me and my family in this one home that we all own. And we're not thinking about going anywhere else. So like, this is a little off. Just when things happen and you feel like they fall in place, you're like, wow, like it was just meant to be. The daycare my daughter goes to is literally a block away. CC's daycare. That lady was my bus driver in elementary school.
Wow.
I have not seen her since I left elementary school. I literally was walking down the street and I see this lady's face, which she hasn't changed at all. And I was like, that's, my daughter is like literally trickling over. Like I was on the bus with her daughter. I saw her son, he was in diapers. He just had, like it was.
Legacy.
Yeah, it was meant to be. So yeah, however way I can help, however I can assist. I'm not much on social media in terms of just gossiping, but anyone can ever message me, call me, stop by my home, knock on the door. I don't mind. Hope you guys vote for me. Hope you enjoyed my interview. And yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you for your time. And I want to wish you the best of luck with the rest of your campaign.
Thank you.